Well, howdy there, folks. James, Political Friar, coming to you again. Got the Baylor Law hat on, so we're going to do a legal topic on this one. Hopefully, the last time we're going to talk about E. Jean Carroll. As you probably know, Donald Trump was ordered to pay E. Jean Carroll $83.3 million for defaming her and then lying about it after the fact. And the court in New York will almost certainly sustain that amount. This is all going to be the last episode on E. Jean Carroll. This is presuming that Donald Trump can control himself. He showed a remarkable lack of self control during this trial, muttering under his breath, getting into spats with the judge, posting on Truth Social things that, were I his lawyer, I would be aghast by. Now, his lawyer is apparently not interested in controlling him, or is completely incapable of controlling him. Which either way, he did himself no favors through this process. He almost certainly cost himself actually probably tens of millions of dollars because he just can't control his impulses. He's oddly immature in this regard, and those impulses have dollar numbers after them. And so we'll see. Maybe he will continue to run his mouth out over E. Jean Carroll, and maybe E. Jean Carroll will continue to file lawsuits against him. She already did it once. She got the judgment in the previous lawsuit, and I promise you that $5.5 million is roughly what she would have got in this one, except for the fact that Donald Trump kept running his mouth. So instead of maybe costing himself $10 million in defamation, now he's got on the hook for $88.8 million. And those dollars can be directly attributed to Donald Trump having no discipline and no temperament for being calm and making decisions. It's literally self-destructive behavior. But this is a legal analysis, not a political one, or a psychological one on how Donald Trump's mind works. Somehow, this kind of self-destructive behavior is not my expertise. Some psychologist is going to have to comment on why a 77-year-old man would do this to himself. But the legal analysis goes like this. See, the majority of the settlement against Donald Trump is in punitive damages. Punitive damages are different from the other types of damages. Generally, you've got compensatory damages, which are designed to put the victim back in the place they were before they were harmed by the tortfeasor. Tortfeasor's the bad guy. In this case, Donald Trump is a tortfeasor. Good word, tortfeasor. So if you have a tortfeasor commit a tort, like crash into your car negligently, then they have to repair your car back to the way it was. That's compensatory damages. The punitive damages are designed to do two things. They're designed to prevent that tortfeasor, the at-fault party, the blameworthy party, from continuing to do that blameworthy uh, behavior. So the guy crashes into your car, he has to repair your car, he backs up and crashes into it again. Well, now you can say, hey, not only do you have to repair my car, but you got to pay me some money, and maybe you will stop. If the court keeps ordering you to pay me more and more and more money, you'll stop crashing into my car. So the punitive damages is designed to be a bit of a preventative. It's also designed to punish. It is supposed to hurt. The reason why the testimony on how rich Donald Trump was allowed in is because when you charge a billionaire, $100,000 in punitive damages, he just doesn't care. He just doesn't care the same way that I would care if I lost $100,000 in punitive damages. So the punitive damages have to be enough to actually hurt the person and punish him. And then it also serves as a deterrent. So other tortfeasors who may be considering doing something similar will look over and see their fellow traveler over there having to pay, $65 million and say, boy, maybe I won't do that. So those are the reasons why punitive damages exist, but there are limits. You can't just put somebody out there with punitive damages that completely wreck them. That's not the point. The really wrecking people is the purview of the government. In a civil case, you're not supposed to be imposing penalties that are effectively criminal in nature. You can't send a person to jail in a civil case. So there are limits, and the Supreme Court has opined on limits to punitive damages, and they aren't hard and fast limits. There's lots of arguments about what the punitive damages ought to be, but the Supreme Court has set some goalposts. They have said that, well, if the punitive damages are greater than 4 times what the actual damages were, the compensatory damages were, that's going to raise an eyebrow. That's going to get some scrutiny. And if they're over 10 times as much, then almost certainly that's unconstitutional. That would be taking money from somebody without due process that they are afforded. Only the government gets to take 10 times the amount of actual damages, because only the government has the right to the power of the police. They're the only ones who can throw you in jail. You can't charge people a penalty, and you can't throw people in jail in civil actions. You're supposed to charge them, the compensatory damages plus an appropriate amount of punitive damages. So let's apply those general rules, the 4x and the 10x, to the ruling that we've got. So the jury found that the compensatory damages that Trump owes E. Jean Carroll was $18.3 million. That's how much he literally cost her in her reputation damage and what she will have to theoretically pay to restore her reputation. And 18.3 times 4 is 73.2. And they awarded 65 million, less than 4. And so there's a real good chance that this punitive damages number really isn't going to get looked at. It's less than the place where the window kind of opens for scrutiny. So look for this punitive damages number to actually be upheld. It's interesting that when added to the $5.5 million that Donald Trump is already slated to pay E. Jean Carroll, that the total award that she's going to get is 88.8. That, I suspect, was on purpose. Juries, they regularly get creative when they're doing damages. They want to send messages with these punitive damages. There was a case where there were bed bugs in a Motel 6, and the the jury awarded punitive damages against Motel 6 in the amount of, I don't remember, it was like $132 million, but the room where the person was staying was 132. It's not uncommon for juries to play with these numbers to try to send a symbolic message on punitive damages. And 888 is it's an easy to remember number. In East Asian numerology, it's a very lucky number. So maybe we all can be very lucky and never have to talk about E. Jean Carroll again, because Donald Trump will finally realize that this is a hot stove that he should stop putting his hand on. All right, so what actually happens as far as her collecting her money? Well, Donald Trump is going to appeal. And so to appeal, what you need to do is you need to either put the money plus 10%, because every day that you don't pay, you have to pay interest on the debt. And the statutory interest rate is usually between 7 and 9%. I don't know what it is in New York, but it's high. It's higher than your average return rate in the stock market. And so what you usually have to do is you have to put 110% of the damages into the court's bank account. So Donnie would have to put like $91 million into the court's bank account pending the appeal. He'll get a refund based off of what actually gets paid off of that, but most of that money will end up going to E. Jean Carroll, assuming he loses the appeal, and he's gonna lose the appeal, guys. This appeal it's not. There was nothing that was at all troublesome about the case. The doctrine of collateral estoppel is not controversial. There's not a good legal argument that Donald Trump can forward on appeal. He's going to lose. It's that he's going to delay having to pay. While the appeal goes through, he's going to put that money on deposit, or maybe he can buy a bond. Yeah, that's the other thing, is you don't actually have to put the money in cash. You can get somebody to promise to pay. That costs Donald Trump more because there will be fees and there will be interest, and he's going to have to pay that bond back eventually. So he could arrange for a bond instead of putting up his own money, or he could put his own money up while the appeal's in process. After the appeal, he loses the appeal, and I'm confident to say that he'll lose the appeal. That money will go to Eugene Carroll. Court will pay it out, or the bond. The guy who issued the bond will pay it out to Eugene Carroll, and then Donald Trump would either have to pay that bondholder back or just be out the money from the court. There is one more interesting thing to watch, and I don't know whether we'll get reporting on this, but whether Donald Trump can find somebody to lend him, you know, lend him that money. Donald Trump, is not known for paying back his debts. He's known for going bankrupt. And if he gets a bondholder to put up the money for this defamation claim for him and then goes bankrupt personally, well, that bondholder is going to be the one that's the victim. That that could happen. So watch and see whether Donald Trump puts his own money up for the appeal or whether he gets a bond. If he puts his own money up, there's a decent chance that nobody will do business with Donald Trump because, frankly, he's unreliable. He's not he's not an honest dude. I don't know if you knew this, but he's deeply dishonest. And when people are talking about tens of millions of dollars, that matters. Donald Trump's credit score is trash at this point. Anyway, that's the way that this will go. Is we'll have the money put into the court register, and then we'll have an appeal. He'll lose, and Eugene Carroll will get paid, and hopefully that's it. Hopefully, I don't have to put this hat back on and talk to you about how Donald Trump decided to dig himself even deeper into this particular morass. But also recognize that this is Donald Trump's character. It is reasonable to see this as persistent. He's acting consistently. His judgment is costing him tens of millions of dollars. Him running his mouth is costing him that much money. Him, frankly, existing outside of reality. All his lawyer had to do was explain to him that the issue of whether he did it or not was closed, and every time he tried to bring it back up, it hurt him. He just couldn't help himself. Impulse control. Boy, not a thing for this guy. 77 years old, and he can't stop touching his hand to the fire. Anyway, it's just a thought. Let me know how wrong I am in the comments down below. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate that. And, consider telling a friend. I appreciate you. Thanks.